Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 18th meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of all the exits around the room, and now join me as we salute the American flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everyone. First item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for Camp Victory Lake Master Plan in Phase 1. Making a motion to reopen the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The applicants are not here this evening. The ZBA voted against granting the variances at its last meeting, so they're taking some time to figure out what the next steps are and ask us to adjourn this to March 1st. Any comments from consultants for the board? There being none, would anyone from the public like to speak about this application? There being none, making a motion to adjourn the public hearing to March 1st.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries as well. The next item on the agenda is Bellafield Phase 2 Final Development Plan. This is a very reviewed and discussed plan. I want to first thank the applicants. We gave you some really long comment memos, and you really did turn it on a dime. You were able to get information to us last week. Some of us didn't see the paper until, I would guess, probably yesterday, because Town Hall was closed on Monday. But in the new plan, we had a revised and more extensive landscaping plan. We got the sign manual. We had updates as to traffic, as to fiscal impacts. There were a lot of things, in other words, you responded to quickly. But most importantly, we got all the Bellafield comments and responses back, so we're prepared to take action tonight on seeker. Making a motion to reopen the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Do you guys have anything to add?
I do not. Thank you for summarizing that. I appreciate it.
No, those were very extensive responses. I sent out an email earlier thanking Kelly, Bonnie, Tad, Victoria, everybody who had input, Jennifer, into the resolutions today in the appendix. This will be my resolution to introduce tonight. I do want to just point out to anybody who might be listening at home that when we go through a lot of whereases, what those whereases represent are each paragraph goes through a detailed history of the project, as well as actions that were taken at various times by town boards and planning boards, basically creating a historical record. It also verifies that this agency, as the planning board and the town board, have retained certain rights and authorities, repeated often and without limitation. But it's about the history of it. Any comments from our consultants?
Not this time. We
Thanks
have the
again.
opportunity to review it.
Yeah, thanks.
Provide some edits. Thank you.
Bonnie, I know you came up with the first of the appendix sort of unwieldy documents there, so thank you, because as I pointed out, you go through all of the changes and what the implications are for seeker and whether there was appropriate mitigation or not, or whether they even need to be mitigated, but sometimes that can be a really lengthy piece of paper, like our resolution, but the appendix is actually shorter and it's very pithy. So I think, in other words, anybody who reads it, even a layperson, can understand how we got to the point we are, so thank you. Tad, any comments?
No.
Peter, Victoria? Great, any comments from the board?
I guess I just thank you for continuing to deal with the immense details and work through everything. It's just, it's so impressive.
It was we keep saying it's a great collaborative. This is really an example of how projects should be worked through municipalities, because it really was a collaborative effort.
Well, in particular, this is a large project.
Right.
I think that, but I do believe, even though probably many of us will not be up here as the next project portions are proposed and reviewed, I think we've set a good template for how that's done.
Agree.
It's also, we've already set kind of a template as well for what the architecture is going to look like throughout now, because that was one big portion of our discussion. So
Yes.
at any rate, would anyone from the public like to speak about this application? If there are none, then I'm going to read Resolution 2022-27A and 2022-28A. Resolution to affirm a secret determination of significance, i.e. a negative declaration, Bellafield at Historic Hyde Park, that was formerly known as St. Andrews at Historic Hyde Park, January 18th, 2023. Whereas, and 7 pages of whereases. Now, therefore be it resolved that based upon the entire record before the planning board, before it, the planning board hereby determines the extensive environmental record before the planning board is sufficient to assess the potential impacts of the proposed Phase 2 final development plan and subdivision plat. 2, the Phase 2 final development plan and subdivision plat are in substantial accordance with the secret findings statement adopted by the planning board on December 8th, 2021, and by the town board as the involved agency on December 20th, 2021, and will not create any significant adverse effect upon the environment, nor will it result in any new or potentially significant adverse environmental impacts that have not been previously addressed or were inadequately addressed in the existing environmental impact statement, and there is no need to prepare a supplemental environmental impact statement, nor any need to amend the previously adopted secret findings without reference to any further modifications to the Phase 2 final development plan and subdivision plat before such plans are considered for approval. The planning board continues to retain jurisdiction within its final development plan and subdivision authority to impose conditions deemed appropriate to maintain such consistency. 3, the board hereby reaffirms its previous certification initially adopted on December 8th, 2021, that the requirements of the secret regulations have been met and that consistent with social, economic, and other essential considerations from among the reasonable alternatives available, that the action hereby taken is one that avoids or minimizes adverse environmental impacts to the maximum extent practicable.
Second?
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I will just point out that the appendix to the secret resolution goes through several detailed areas that we identified as part of the changes, making sure that they stay congruent with the final development, with the approved concept plan. Those include the scale, I should say land use and zoning, community character, landscaping and recreation issues, height variations for the 6 residential buildings as proposed. They're still before the town board to grant. The consistency of the building materials with design guidelines and Hudson Valley aesthetics. 4, Main Street design, the sidewalk width and angled parking, as well as the increase of the street. 5 is parking garage design, which did change. We think for the better, I will add here. Site landscaping, which has been, as I pointed out, they beefed up the landscaping substantially this last time, which, as is pointed out by our planning consultant, is going to soften and mitigate the eastern elevations where there's not a lot, where the parking garages are, so there's not a lot of parking windows in through there. Also, we looked at issues for open space, park areas, active recreation and trail connections, grading topography, environmental disturbance, ecological and cultural resources, vegetation, wildlife, wetlands and stormwater management, traffic and transportation, economic and fiscal impacts. I think that might be it, yes. So all are addressed, and as pointed out in the resolution, this is part of the record, is incorporated into the record by the resolution itself.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I believe that we are also here tonight to make a motion to set a public hearing for the subdivision.
Well, what are we doing with this public hearing?
Yeah, we need to.
Oh, wait, first have to
Continue to
adjourn,
next
we have to
month?
continue this.
To February 1st or February 15th?
Which would you guys
Let's
prefer?
do the 15th, since that's when the next public hearing would be scheduled for.
For the,
Subdivision.
for subdivision?
Yeah. So they
Okay,
come
now.
together.
Right,
And
so
making a
then-
motion to
right,
adjourn
yeah.
this public hearing to
It's fine.
February 15th.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And if you want to appear in the February 1st agenda, just let us know for workshop.
Yes,
Always, you know
understood.
that.
Yes, yep.
And making a motion to set the public hearing for the Bellafield subdivision for Phase 2 for February 15th.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That was easy.
Thank you very much,
Very easy.
everyone.
Ladies and
We really
gentlemen,
appreciate your-
It's funny what a long birth process that was
Yes.
for the last 5 days, and now it's sort of anticlimactic.
And it will be, as you said, a great template moving forward.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Thank you, everyone.
So thanks for all the work.
Yeah, coming forward, we're not going to be this big.
Yes,
This was a tough one.
this was a tough one, yep. So we'll be back. We're going to now work on all the site plan components and the
As I
responses
said,
to all the comments. So
when I
we'll be
looked
back.
at, when I looked at my paper copies, a lot of the site, and there's still lots of stuff that needs to be tweaked,
Yeah.
but some major stuff is already dealt with.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was good to see, in other words, because you're tackling that as you go along with this,
Yes,
too.
we are,
So-
yeah, we're.
And I did speak,
well on-
I did speak
well
to
on
your,
that.
we'll call him your boss man today, who
Yep.
might be on the phone. I told him I thought he'd be on the phone, so, to tell him what a great job you guys have done as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a wonderful night.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night.
Whoa. How far back did I have to go? Okay. The next item on the agenda, we had a request for what is currently known as Hyde Park Quick Stop. This would be the filling station that it lacks a canopy. located at 4912 Albany Post Road, just north of us in Statsburg. It's more or less catty corner from Renaissance Rehabilitation. The planning board granted what I thought was fairly quick approval to a site plan that would be a substantial upgrade to the existing fueling station there. Only, even though they may have thought it didn't go long enough, they're having a hard time trying to get through DEC with the issues, as well as the attorneys filing stuff. So, in an abundance of caution, they requested that we go ahead and grant them the 90 days we can. Anybody have any questions, or in time to meet conditions that time? Anybody have any questions?
No, just I hope they can get through.
Me too, but we know, since this happened with Dollar General at Dorsey and 9G, we know that if they can't get the conditions met in that time frame, it's pretty easy to start the process up again,
Right.
because there's no new information. So, at any rate, there's other questions, and this is Mr. Waters' resolution.
Resolution granting 2 90-day extensions of time to satisfy the conditions of approval, Hyde Park Quick Stop, 2022-10C, whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby grants the applicant 2 90-day extensions of time to satisfy the conditions of the site plan approval for the project to and including August 14th, 2023.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
carries unanimously, and that brings us, believe it or not, to the end of the meeting.
The ones that he had.
I did not think that when I read the agenda.
I did not, I thought there
I
would
did
be more
not.
discussion. So making a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight. Actually, no one really came except for Kate, but thanks for the applicants for coming, and for anybody who might be tuning on to television. Thanks to our elected officials providing the resources to televise this, and thanks to the gentleman back in the back who's actually doing all the work. Thanks, Tony.